Our roles often is to be act as a bridge between academia and industry, translating industry's problems into questions that can be answered in the lab or by researchers, and also taking research findings and hope to translate them the other way to make them useful to the brands. Is that about right, Ned? So that's the kind of thing we're going to be talking about this afternoon, this interaction between the researchers in labs and universities and other institutions around the world, and the researchers and research managers in industry. We hope you get some good discussion. We will be asking you to participate, probably by name if you're not responding, as we would like you to, so be warned. So it's my pleasure, first of all, just to introduce our panel today. I think this is in alphabetical order. On my keyboard. Okay, so Bertie Kramer from Adidas, he's the director of the R&D or innovation program, I'm not sure what we call it in German, but from at Adidas. Welcome. Please pick your seat to get first choice in business class. And in the blue corner representing ASICS, Dr. Kenta Moriyasu. Eric Raw from Brooks Running. Where are you, Eric? Thank you. Neil Swengwen from Decathlon. And then from Fila, Dr. Yukwa. Oh no, it's not Dr. Yukwa, it's Dr. Shin. Oh, is it? Yukwa Shin? Yeah, Dr. Shin. Yeah, good. We've got somebody else's name. He's representing Fila. Fila is back. In case you're wondering, Fila is now not an Italian company, but a Korean company. And then from K2 Korea, another Korean company, Dr. Jungho Lee. From Li Ning, Dr. Gilbert Lam. From Ludo Japan, Dr. Natsuki Sato from Mizuno. Dr. Matt Nurse from Nike. Dr. Nicholas Hovesh from Salomon. Who is the luckiest of all because his office has a view of the Alps. And last but absolutely not least, Alan Wu. So if you guys would like to take a seat, and yeah.
We wanted to start off by asking the question it's on a lot of people's minds is what do you folks think of the meeting that we've just completed? Do you have any comments or suggestions? General impressions?
Specifically, what have you learned? What value might it have to you? Is it of interest or not? Is the standard going up or down, or staying the same?
You're right. I honestly think that this society, as we've learned from you, Martin, this morning, improves year by year, and it's getting better and better. And some of the things that I really like is that there is a good mix of fishing and seeking for new ideas on the one side, and on the other side, there is this idea to really prove an hypothesis to come to a final conclusion that it doesn't stays as an hypothesis, but that it's getting proven so that we are able to implement that into product development. And I think there is room in both areas to get to the next level, but I think there is so much potential here in the room that I'm absolutely sure that it will get better in both elements. And I think both elements are needed.
I enjoy coming to this meeting every year. I know most of the people that are in the room, and I think this year there was a lot of great presentations, and kind of stemming off of this whole fishing idea. Some of the presentations I saw this week, where you looked at responders and non-responders and started to look at individual responses, I think is something that I would like to encourage the audience to look at. Too many times we take mean average and say that we found nothing, but we're seeing large differences with individuals. And I think it's a starting point, it's a fishing expedition, but learning what is actually happening on the individual level and then developing a hypothesis research, I think can really start to open up opportunities and avenues in what we find and what we learn about running.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kenta from Essex Corporation in Japan. So I'm very happy to be here, and today I would like you to enjoy my Japanese English as well as this session. And so I think this conference, so there are two big keywords. One is hypothesis, the other is interpretation. So through this session, I'd like to make them so clear with you. Thank you very much.
I first like to thank the organizers and for putting on a really great conference. I do enjoy coming to these. I think one of the advantages of this conference is it's small enough that it remains familial. I think one of the things that comes with being familial is you should feel comfortable challenging each other. You know, as we get to know each other a lot, we should challenge each other. I think we're as a science, as a young fledgling science, I think we're at a critical point in our development. Martin alluded to this morning that the ability to make observations and collect data and draw conclusions used to be the exclusive domain of the academic, and it's not the case anymore. The ability for you to collect data will be dwarfed by those around you. Right? It's happening today and it will continue. With wearable sensors and startup groups and the Googles and Apples and just two folks working out of the garage with an accelerometer is going to dwarf what we can do from an observation standpoint. But it is absolutely the domain of the academic to stay true to the scientific method. And it's been said it's the single greatest innovation of the last 400 years, and this is the room where that will happen because it won't happen outside. And so I think it's a critical moment for how we look at subject size and sample size and draw conclusions and interpretations. Because we still have to take that information, go fishing, generate hypotheses, and then go back to the lab where we validate them. So I think that's going to be a critical growth that's going to happen over the next 10 years for us.
Hello, Under Armour. I too enjoy coming to this conference each time, and the quality has improved each time. And I look forward to listening to the more innovative, or the number of papers with more innovative approaches and thinking have improved, and that only helps us from an innovation point of view. A different perspective, a different way of thinking, kind of leads to different ideas, which we kind of rely on you to bring that to us. So being a scientist by trade, I'm going to be the first one to be critical, and being the chairperson-elect too, I'm going to be critical of the papers simply from, I don't have a great, accurate historical perspective, because I didn't keep track of it until this conference. And in terms of the papers associated with running and walking and linear movements versus non-linear or multi-directional movements, it's predominantly linear. And if you look across in terms of the industry, there's running obviously is a critical category to us, but that's not the only category or activity that our consumers participate in. So a little bit deeper understanding in terms of these multi-directional movements would be helpful.
Which brings us to the next question. Helen makes a really good point about criticism. We should be good enough friends that we can talk frankly to one another. And I don't think of it as much as criticism as it is mentoring or suggesting. For example, Benno and I go at it all the time. And we can do that because we know one another, we trust one another, and we respect one another. We don't necessarily agree with one another, but that's really not relevant except in the professional context. So just following up from Ned's question, 2 years from now, what are the kinds of questions, research questions, that you would like us to be addressing in the next conference in Calgary 2 years from now? What would you like the topics to be? What would you like us to be talking about?
And actually, as the scientists in the industry, and actually our foot, one foot on the industry and the other foot on the academic, and actually, as a commercial point of view, we need to find out the standard testing protocol for different footwear, not only for one leg, but also for different types of sport, for example, basketball, tennis, everything. Because right now, we find out that different researchers may try to use different testing protocol to qualify the footwear function. So in the next conference, we'd love to see whether we can get where is standard testing protocol for different footwear.
Konnichiwa. Hello. I'm Sato from Mizuno. It's such a great honor for me to be here, and I'm so excited to share the time with you. It's my first time to join this conference, and I am so inspired and I'm so excited. And it's lucky for me to join this conference at this specific timing, because it's changing right now. And one of the mega trends we are focusing on is we call it individualization industry. It may be happening in the near future. From that point, to see individual data deeper and deeper, not only just the average and SE, to see the individual data deeper and to understand the mechanism deeper, especially about the validity. That's what I would like to expect for the next meeting.
I'd like to follow up on that a little bit. Customization is the coming trend. It's been on the agenda of the industry for a long time, and now we have the technology that means that it's feasible. There's still some big steps before it becomes mainstream, but it's, I would say many brands, most of the large ones, are at least doing making some effort towards customization, local production, so on and so forth. What does this research community, what information or what science or what understanding, what knowledge do you need from this research community to support that?
Bertie and I almost always agree. We have massive respect for each other. I think early when a new technology comes along in science, there's a lot of papers that use it as a descriptive tool. There's a lot of papers that come out and they get to describe phenomena with this new amazing device. And I think I would challenge, it was brought up earlier today by somebody, just establishing cause and effect. Everybody at all our companies have amazing designers and material people and color people, and as we heard from Cameron, there's a massive tribal sort of sexual, cultural thing that goes on with our footwear. And we're not responsible for that, thank God. You can just look at us, right? But we are responsible for the functional side of what footwear does, whether that's through performance, protection, or comfort, and maybe some emerging other things in the future, motivation, information, whatever those might be. But I think in order for us to move the needle in that regard, you have to start a project with why are you doing it? And if it's just to describe something, I'll be honest, I don't think it's good enough. But if it's to solve an injury, if it's to solve a comfort issue, if it's to solve a player problem or an athlete problem or just a consumer problem, then I think you go into the methodological design maybe a different way, and I think that's what we need in order to help. If we're gonna, whether it's customization, not personalization, I mean, because again, aesthetics are not our domain, but in terms of building footwear or other interventions that are going to affect a player in a way that's meaningful to them, we have to establish cause and effect.
Yeah, first of all, again, agree. Second of all, I would like to answer the question you had before, what I expect in 2 years from now, which is related to the second comment that I have. I think it will be beautiful in 2 years from now to make this fish called preferred movement path a project that gives it some evidence so that it's clear what it really means, which would enable us to implement that into our philosophy, how we sell running shoes on the market. So initiate studies that help us to understand what does it really mean and how can we translate that into product and bring that to the consumer. Secondly, in general, I think, as Matt was saying, we have excellent people working in your company, in our company. Is it material science engineers or designers, or is it process engineers or people building up new factories and new opportunities in that regard? I think those guys, they will come up with opportunities to individualize and make product different from one product to the next one. And I always was telling my guys, it would be super stupid for us as biomechanics if they are able to do it and we would not be able to let them know what kind of consumer need what kind of that specific product that they are able to make. So I would challenge the group as well in a similar way. Try to adapt the programs, the research programs that you are doing to answer the question, how can we assess the consumer and how can we relate individualized or customized product to him or to her.
So, almost agree with comment. But so, if we look at your specialty, I guess, so you have a specialty regarding biomechanics and anatomy, pathology, and so on. But so, in the designing process of footwear, you focus on production process, like so in this case, a mechanical engineer and a material scientist and the researcher regarding the production technology should be combined together. But so if we look at this conference, so I guess a few people join this conference. So a few people having the specialty in material science join this conference. So 2 years later, I want to discuss not only human movement but also material science, such as based on stress strain curve of material.
Any other comments along those lines? No? Take this general question a step in a little more specific direction, which is how can the FBG, the Footwear Biomechanics Group, better support industry? Gilbert mentioned standards. That's something we could certainly promote, possibly in collaboration with some standards organizations. And position papers is something that we're talking about. Also, are there any specific research topics besides the ones you've already mentioned that might help industry? So we're interested in not just how this meeting can help, but how can FBG help industry move forward? Anybody like to add a comment on that? Okay.
Yeah, I think there is always the need to look into new things. I was always wondering that one specific methodology that I personally, first of all, really like and love, and second of all, think it has already kind of brought a lot of light into something that we haven't had been able to look before, and that is kind of the simulation aspect of things. I think it had a hype probably some 15 years ago, and we were seeing a few things here as well. But I think, you know, if we are stepping into this world of probably being much more digital in the future from a product creation as well as from a product building perspective, that tool will help us a lot to kind of pre-test product in a virtual way, which kind of would match the things how we develop and build product from a principal perspective. So I would love to see this group digging deeper into this area of simulation to allow us to virtually test product before we even have a sample in our hands.
Maybe I don't know. I enjoy reading footwear science. I think I enjoy reading footwear science because it's not just biomechanics. I know the middle letter is B in stands for biomechanics, but I think the more we can embrace, whether it's material science, physiology, I was really happy to see a trained panel perception study presented today. I think sometimes we treat the B as a little limiting, and I think that narrows the breadth and scope, not only of what we do, but who we can learn from. I think that'd be a great opportunity.
I think virtual design is expanding now, especially in automobile industry. Therefore, I think virtual designing is also applicable in this field. As well as virtual designing, I want to understand the mechanism of human movement. So in the research field, we tend to see correlation between some parameters, but so people tend to think that correlation implies causal relation, but so sometimes it's not related to each other. Therefore, we want to discuss deeply regarding relationship between correlation and causality. Yeah, I see.
Thank you. So just, you have a question?
I have a point. Travis Greenberg, New Balance. Performance and injury are always the sexy research studies, but at the end of the day, our primary objective is to sell shoes. And a consumer walks into a store and they buy shoes, somewhat based on stories, but they buy shoes based on when they put it on, how it makes them feel, how much it costs, how it fits. So experiments helping us understand what fit really is, what first feel really is, what somebody feels when they put shoes on. It may not be hardcore biomechanics, but it really influences the purchase decision, and we can have the best soccer boot or the best running shoe, and if no one puts it on in the store and leaves the store with it, they're never going to be able to take advantage of those performance benefits or those injury benefits. And the other one to think about, I think, is as econ based as everything is getting, it's cost us millions and millions and millions of dollars to deal with returns because it didn't fit or they didn't like the way it felt when they put it on when they saw it on newbalance.com. So understanding how we can do better at understanding what's going to fit and feel great on a specific individual based on any number of things about them in a scenario where they're not actually even in the store is something that is big now, and that's going to continue to grow.
So did you move to marketing, Travis? I'm going to turn the tables a little bit and ask you guys to generate some questions for our panel. You have here the bosses of numerous labs and R&D facilities, product development groups, some major brands. And these are the guys that have the checkbooks, and these are the guys that have the plans and know what's, can be fairly confident about what the industry is going to be doing a few years from now. So what I'd like you to ask us some questions, and while you're thinking of those, I'm going to start them off with one. If somebody here has a research proposal that they'd like to get funded, are you open to those? In other words, would you be interested to hear it, or are you just focused on your own research agenda? If you are, how would somebody go about contacting you in order to present you with a research proposal? And we'll do everybody down the line, starting here with Satoshi.
Fully open. Open. Open very much.
And actually, I love to see the totally new, different proposal, which is very far away from our development. We also love to see, but this one may not be fully funded because our company needs to find out, take a balance between the chance, how much chance we can commercialize this concept. So for the far away concept, we can just some different way of collaboration, but for some really close to our product, we can just give some funding way away.
I have to say, in response to Sato-san's enthusiasm, at the end of last year, one of my interns sent him a proposal and basically got 2 cartons of shoes to work with in the next mail. So, yeah, he is open. Thank you, too.
Our company also open. Our company, there are 3 people only, so we need intern. Yeah.
So we are also open. So actually, it's the first time to be here. So anyway, I'm from Finland. So as you know, many of you know Finland as the Italian brand, but since 2007, the Korean has the ownership of Finland. So we just started, the innovation and the R&D work. So we don't have any, the step for the biomechanics testing. So now we are collaborating with Korean National Sports University. So maybe I think they are helping us a lot, but also maybe the other maybe some institution or some researchers from the other country will also very helpful for us. So we are very open to to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, whenever we do a project with a partner, the first thing is it has to be a win-win. It has to make sense for both sides. It has to make sense for you guys to being it academic relevance for you, and it has to make sense for our sides to get something answered we are interested in that we can implement into a product or an innovation strategy. And if that's the case, and therefore we need to prove that concept, all is fine. And the easiest contact is write an email to heiko.schlag.
So it's very difficult to answer this question because my boss might get angry. Yeah. No problem. So actually, basically, it's open for the discussion. And of course, I have a friend in this room through the collaboration as an intern and the collaboration study. Therefore, so our company is also so open regarding this.
Yeah, I think Brooks is welcoming different ideas and ideas of what you guys want to do for research. There's a lot of different ways to collaborate. I mean, we could talk here about funding. We can also talk about product. I think there's also a discussion that can take place. And when you guys are testing different types of product, we can explain to you guys how the shoes work, what the materials are, what some of the processes are, so that when you guys are evaluating shoe A versus shoe B, we can give you some insights from a manufacturing standpoint on why we think they're different or what's mechanically different about them, and you guys can use that in your findings. So I think the more we can engage back and forth, I think there's a lot of information that can bring research into a better place. And then when it's right for both parties, I think we definitely entertain the possibilities of doing research together.
Martin, I'm really glad you brought up this question. We talked about this in the FBG board meeting, and how do we improve communication lines between the industry and the researchers in the room, as well as in the community. So I'm very happy to hear so far, I don't know about that one over there, but the openness of hearing about your proposals. I mean, Under Armour is definitely open, definitely wanting to hear your ideas, and let's just kind of work it out.
Yeah, totally open too. Usually it's, we ask for something, we ask for proven research. So for change, it will be nice to have some proposal from you. It will definitely be a good move.
Yes, of course, we are open also. We are, in Salomon, we are a small team in terms of mechanics, and it's not able to do it by yourself, to do all what we want. And I think that the question could be also, if we have this type of proposal, is it possible to all work together in collaboration to make ready?
I'll agree with a lot of what's been said. I think we're always open. It has to work for both parties. We seek partnership when we don't have access to either particular expertise or particular tool sets or particular subject populations. And we're always welcome to ideas. I think the one thing I would ask is, more often than not, I think the biggest obstacle to partnership are the legal teams. And the ownership has to ride with both parties. And you can't just simply reside with industry and have our academic partners take a passive backseat and assume the universities know what to do. My experience is that if the researcher puts as much effort into talking with the legal team at the university, and it's complicated, you have to work the right IP and ownership and all those kind of things, publication rights, but it has to come from both sides, and when it doesn't, I find that more of an obstacle more often than not than finding ideas themselves.
I think it's fair to say that a proposal that fits in with your longer term strategy is more likely to get favourable consideration, is that right? Yeah, so what are your long term strategies? No. Okay, so let's open it up to the floor. You said you've heard the open and to your proposals. Let's have one have some questions from the floor.
Good one over here, I'm sure.
Thank you for your openness. One is probably a comment. I'm intrigued that we have industry here, and this is a footwear biomechanics group, and yet I'm seeing total athletic footwear. Is there a reason, and I suppose you guys can't answer it, why we don't have representations from orthopedic footwear, work footwear, etc.? Because footwear is much more, as much as we appreciate athletic footwear, I'm just wondering, it's probably something that we need to think about as a footwear biomechanics group. The second thing I was going to, this is where I do want advice, is we have many graduate students here. In academia, we can't say things are changing. Academic positions are a bit tough. Look for industry in terms of as a career option. What would be your magic gems of advice for a keen graduate student here who wants to get into the footwear industry like yourselves?
Told you it would be a good question.
Get direct experience. I mean, it's tough from the, at least my experience from the corporate side of having someone come in fresh and not be able to collect data right away. In terms of the product itself, you'll learn that. In terms of the culture, you'll learn that. But in terms of lab skills, you have to have that coming in. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even look at your resume, honestly.
I'm just going to say really quick, I think it's important to be patient. There's not a lot of positions that are always open on a daily basis, and so a lot of it's going to come down to timing. And I think as you graduate, if there's not opportunities at that moment, think about your short-term strategies and think about what do I do for the next 3 to 6 months while I'm waiting for opportunities. And you need to scour the web pages, you need to scour all of our sites to look for openings. When they pop up, they're highly competitive, but I think the biggest struggle I've had with people is that an opening doesn't match a graduation date. And so how do you sync those up? And I think you just have to look for ways to keep yourself busy and then jump on the opportunities when they become available.
So let me take a quick survey here. How many of people here and any other industry representatives accept interns in research and technology? There's one over there. New Balance. Okay. So we have a few places here where an internship is actually a great way to get your foot in the door in a lot of these companies. And that, as a matter of fact, I would guess the majority of people that end up with long-term jobs start off as an intern at some point. So I don't want us to forget about that opportunity, that entrance. Anybody else want to comment on this?
Yeah, I would encourage every young student, to be crazy and stay crazy and do crazy things and come up with ideas that show that you are innovative, creative, looking for new ideas. And then I would like to say also what Eric was saying, timing is obviously quite often a challenge, but that simply means come on early, get in early contact with us, much more time before you are ready to come, because it's always good to plan, and then if we have a face in mind, if we monitor and see you still stay crazy, and at some point in time it might be exactly the right time to join, if you still want to.
Besides of stay crazy, we would like to stay stupid sometimes. Stupid, because stay stupid, stay stubborn, because we want to make it happen all the time in the company. We are not going to prepare one application, but we need to produce a product. So we try to have different way to try to make this function happen and make it valid. Okay, so we need to have very persistent to make it happen. Okay, so the other thing is we also need to have very patient. Very patient. We need to communicate with a designer, tooling guy, chemical engineer. Sometimes they just complain that okay, this is our limit, but we need to push their limit all the time. So we try to have crazy, stupid, okay?
So to answer the first question, so actually my team need to be covering various kind of footwear, not only athletic but also business shoes, pump boots, and working boots, nursery and so on. Therefore, I have to consider various things from the perspective of not only biomechanics but also sometimes physiotherapists. Yeah, that's why next time we will try to join and select these kind of topics at this company. And regarding job hunting like this, in Japan, so Japan is a very bright and strict country, as you know. Therefore, you might be better to consult with human resource department and others.
Chris? Chris Bishop here. So, I think it's probably fair to say that the industry is probably one of the big barriers for the industry in getting footwear research recognised is translation into industry and towards the consumer. As a recent grad student, you get a lot of pressure from universities to run RCTs and more powered studies that can sometimes lack translation. That, working with footwear companies, I'm not saying we don't value those RCTs, but from your side, we get a lot of university pressure to go and run big scale. So I say, what are you looking for in research, and what do you think the barriers are at the moment from an academic point of view to getting better translation of academic science, and how that differs to why you guys continue to do so much of your research in-house, because you obviously think there's better translation there.
I'll just speak for us. You hit the nail on the head. We work in a very fast-paced industry, and we have to do things on very short timelines. And while we try our best, our job is to innovate. Right? And our job is to add value to the company. Our job is not to do basic science. And the big, longer-term epidemiological, high-value studies, we really like and value those. We can't do those ourselves. So I think it's, we certainly see partnerships in that regard. There's things we have to do quicker. But I think the more we can build in that long-term foundational knowledge, which honestly is pretty competitive. We all win, because where we differentiate ourselves is on the application of the science, not the science itself. And I would say I value those types of studies. I think then it's just a conversation around, certain types of work are going to have more value for different industries. Right? I think that's why we have the discussion.
Time's flying. We have a few more questions.
Ben Chang, University of Southern California. So I'm not asking a question, but I have a thought about individualized data. So like you talking about individual data is very important, and then trust me, I believe that's very important to look at individual response to different type of product. And I'm coming from a very academic institute, University of Southern California. So in my proposal qualifying exam, I actually have a debate with all my committee members about whether or not I should show them individual data or I should show them the mean data. I would like to say, science is based on statistics, and statistics is about central limit theory. So if you can find 50% of the sample size that is fit your hypothesis, and then I think that's more valuable for a company to develop a product which can fit 50% of the person, not 5% on each end. So I don't know if that makes sense at all.
I think it does. I mean, in the sense that traditionally, people, shoe manufacturers try to hit the median and perhaps a couple of points on either side, and there's been mass production for this transition to individualization to be huge.
Heiko Schwab, Adidas. I have a comment to Julie's question. Actually, I think this community is a great platform. Julie here, yeah. And it goes to the board also of the community, and I would encourage you just bring the students to this event. This is such a nice big family, such a nice community. This is a good way to get it in, and you always bring some. And I would encourage maybe more professors to bring some students, help them to have some good presentations, good posters. And we always like to hear these. We like to see them, and this is a good way to connect with industry.
Andrew Dofa from Southern Methodist University. A question I have, I guess, is probably more made for those of us who are students when we do get into industry. How do you all kind of balance the science that you do and carrying that out, but also having satisfied the business interests of your company? Because I can imagine a lot of times that the science that you're following, that maybe it's really interesting protocol that you're following, but then the business people may come in and say, this is not what we're interested in anymore. So how do you guys kind of balance that, or can you kind of talk about any challenges that you've had along that?
Who wants to take that one? Oh, come on.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's probably underestimated that business people in the company, marketeers, development people, and designers, they are good people as well. And if you have a good network within your company, and if you establish the vocabulary, how to talk about things, and if you then transport that, as a scientist within the company into the rest of the company who's responsible for product innovation, product development, product marketing, and all those things, I think we have a good voice to transport what we need to transport to make a scientific result that really has relevance and bring that into product. So from that perspective, when Martin was saying marketing and Ned was saying, they help the society very, very much to transport scientific elements into an industry environment. I think I would see probably ourselves in that role as well. Believe me, I think we are much more with you guys sometimes than with the people within our company, but we try to translate that in a way and use our networks to make things happen so that your ideas are at the end of the day received within product.
I'll just add really quickly onto that. I think, when you're in a company, there's a lot of aspects that are going on. There's a lot of different timelines. And so we're talking a lot about how, we're quick to the market and we're making good decisions and that type of thing. But we have 3-year and 5-year strategy plans. We have a lot of innovation that's taking time to bring to life. And those are opportunities, to utilize the stuff that you guys are doing out there. And so there are some projects or some things that we're doing that are a lot more paced within, to what you guys are familiar with. And then there are other things that we're really, we're cranking and we need to figure out how to do within the next couple weeks to a month to 6 months. But, in the job that I perform today, there's tons of things that have to work fast. And there are tons of things that are on 5-year calendars. And so it's not exactly true when we say that, we can't look at anything that you guys are doing that's, prospective studies and that type of thing. Ideally, the prospective studies get put into a pool, and then when we're looking for an opportunity, we can actually kind of go fishing into the pool of information. So the more basic science that we can collect and put somewhere allows us also to work more efficiently and better.
Steve Manning from QUT. I'm wondering, with the movement away from the cushioning and stability paradigm, what plans the shoe companies have towards educating the consumer, because they've done a pretty poor job in the past. And maybe, Derek, if you think about the Brooks Nexus from many years ago, the Kinetic Wedge is a great device for about 15% of people. A lot of people bought that shoe and got injured. And so it was pulled, even though it was a good shoe for people. So what are the plans?
Yes, since we're talking about something more that our brand is pushing right now, I'll start the conversation. So we've developed an app. We're going consumer facing. We launched the app at Boston Marathon, and so all events that Brooks shows up at, we have an opportunity to do a fit process, and in that opportunity we have a lot of education on what the biomechanics are behind it. And then the difference between what you're seeing with the research here and what Brooks is putting together is that there's a science side to it and there's an experience side to it. So after we figure out the science, we then utilize the experience to decide what shoe in our line is actually right for them. And so we're front facing, meaning that our opportunity right now is to talk directly to the runner, and we're doing that through the events. We're also going into retailers, we're trying to help educate them, but it's a hard process. We're doing a lot of education online and through our through the internet, and we'll continue to hopefully work on projects and publications so we can start to get into other avenues. But right now, our company is behind this, and we're trying to look for any avenue that we can to communicate the message. But really what it amounts to is getting in front of people and trying to tell the story and tell it in a succinct and quick way so that it has value and meaning, and try to put together or put out the noise. There's a lot of information being put on the web right now, and it's our opportunity to talk about something that we really believe in, that we have evidence in, and that's what we want to talk about, so that the noise and the ideas and concepts that aren't proven, those don't get legs, and we're talking about the right things and the value thanks to the runners.
Anyone else like to respond to that? Helen, I think?
Yeah, just a quick response. I mean, I think that's basically a good challenge, a good example of the challenges we're facing. The consumers totally understand and comprehend cushioning and stability, and to kind of persuade them otherwise or another concept, there's only so much mind space that the consumer has towards these more complicated and complex paradigms. And we don't even really understand anything beyond cushioning and stability. So how do you expect the consumer to? So part of it is you leading the way, right? So understanding what the performance benefits should be, what the runner should have, and then collaborating with footwear brands to communicate that. But it kind of sits with the consumer as to how open they are to new ideas like this.
Well, we're really close to our time. Perhaps one more quick one, if somebody has a really good one. If not, I hope one thing that you'll take away from this is that when we talk about the brands, about Adidas, Nike, and Mizuno, these are the people that we are talking about, and they are mostly human, and with only one exception, they're really nice people, and so don't be afraid to, one of the best, we talk about opening communication channels. Well, you're here, they're there, you're all going to be out in the coffee place and at dinner tonight. I mean, just walk up and talk to these people. Let's just.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that I heard this afternoon. One is that it might benefit us all if we spend more time looking into simulation and modeling simulation. I've also taken away that there's a need for more integration of material science. Basically, biomechanics is an interdiscipline, and we adopt all kinds of technologies from all over in college of biomechanics, and it seems that material science is a place where we can benefit the industry, especially as we integrate it with our biomechanics research and with the ideas about individualization that are just sort of flowering right now in the industry. Also, I was interested to read about standards. There's always been a lot of resistance in the industry to standards, but it seems like that has changed. And now there's an interest in having some standard ways of measuring things we can use to compare materials, products, and so on. So I thought that was a very interesting suggestion from the group. And that was all, really. I just sort of heard those things, and I thought we'd keep them. See if anybody had any other comments about what we've done here this afternoon.
So on behalf of us all, the gentlemen and the ladies, Madam President, thank you all very much for taking the time and giving us the benefit of your expertise and knowledge. Thank you.